Yeah, I'm Suman, ma'am.
Yeah, I could see now, Suman.
Hanji. How
Yeah,
are you, ma'am?
I'm good, and thank you so very much for letting me interact with you, all your students of Genesis. No?
It's a pleasure, ma'am, to hear you. Long back, I think I was the advisor, staff advisor for Bloom. Then you came to our college
Oh, yeah,
around
this I
10,
spoke
15
about
years back.
that.
Hanji, yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
then I told them story of Valley of Flowers. No?
Yes, ma'am. I remember. Beautiful slides.
I don't
We're
know.
expecting the same thing today also. So elections done, ma'am?
Oh yes, I have voted yesterday.
Okay, you casted your vote.
Yes. So, Dr. Madhumita and all, have they joined? No.
Ma'am, she'll join, ma'am. She will join. She has retired, ma'am, on 31st January.
Oh, acha. And Ritu must be there, no? Dr. Ritu?
Yes, ma'am.
And Suresh ji bhi honge.
Hanji, hanji.
So I think I joined on time,
Yes,
2:30.
ma'am, you're joining in time. Actually, we'll begin within 2-3 minutes. Yes.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Dr. Anupama.
Oh, hello, Anupama. Yes, I remember the faces, but last 2-3 years, so it so happened that we couldn't go to department, no?
Yes,
Yeah, I
ma'am.
went twice or thrice, maybe.
Yeah, I
But
used to see you in Professor Bhojwani's lab when I was doing PhD. And
yeah.
Dr.
Uh-huh.
Rakhi Chaturvedi was also there.
Rakhi is in Guwahati and she is a professor, no?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah, she is Guwahati IIT.
Yeah.
She's there. Yeah, nice seeing you all, no? You all have grown up. I've also grown up with my. It's nice, but now the time has come that we all should meet physical. There should be offline meeting, no?
That's true, ma'am. That's true. Yeah.
The connect is different when you are teaching without students. You don't feel like teaching to the board and
Yes.
talking to the board, no?
Yes, ma'am. That's true. Yes, ma'am.
आपके कई मास्टर स्टूडेंट्स हमारे संग हैं और पीएचडी की भी सुनीता बिस्ट इज माय पीएचडी स्टूडेंट शी वाज योर स्टूडेंट
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
देन
Even my MSc batchmate was your student, Prabha.
yes. Oh, yes. Prabha is there in Delhi University.
Yes, ma'am. She's
Yeah,
also
it's,
teaching
Prabha
in
Sharma.
Kalindi College. Yeah.
Yes, Prabha
Prabha
Sharma.
Sharma. Yeah.
She did PhD with me. Yes,
Yeah.
on Fedras. Yes.
Yeah.
मधुमिता की ही सब्जेक्ट है मधुमिता ने भी फेडरल में काम किया था
हाँ जी, हाँ जी, हाँ जी.
And it's really nice,
Yeah, ma'am, very nice. I was so happy जब डॉक्टर सुमन ने मुझे बताया कि you are coming for the talk, तो I was really happy कि wow.
These days I say no. पता अनुपमा these days I say no because मुझे लगता है कि लेकिन पता नहीं सुमन ने जब फोन किया मुझे लगा no okay I must talk to them. I must talk to the young students about the biology, which is very, very important now.
Yes, ma'am, that's true.
Yeah. So therefore, I said, okay, I'll be there. And therefore, every day you're so busy with the other assignments and the other things,
Yes.
Since I'm also head,
Yeah.
kind of dean. So मुझे लगा कि no, I will speak to them, but give me some time.
आपके पास एकेडमिक और एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव प्रेशर दोनों होगा इस वक्त काफी.
जी हाँ बिल्कुल. यही थोड़ा सा though we all are academics into academics.
Yeah, ma'am.
So let everyone join.
Yeah, ma'am. I think they have some problems. Some students have some net issue. Let me just connect to them. Yeah. Okay. Give me a second. I will just connect to them.
Good morning, Professor Hemant. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Hemant sir. Good afternoon, Ajit sir.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, ma'am.
Um, Actually, principal sir is in, I think, some selection committee. He's saying he'll join in between when he'll be free for a while. So can we start then? Students, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am,
Yeah, Indra?
ma'am, the students that are not able to join, we have directed them towards the YouTube live. They can join from there.
Please do that. Actually, all of you are joining together now. Maybe इसीलिए नहीं
Yes,
हो पा रहा है.
ma'am.
I am admitting everyone. You can tell them to join through YouTube. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Henry Ford says is a beginning, keeping together is a process, and working together is success. It was indeed this mantra of working together that has brought us here where we are today. Good afternoon to one and all present here. I, Shivani,
And I, Shanvi, on behalf of the entire Genesis family, would like to welcome you all. We have gathered here on this beautiful Saturday afternoon to see the first day of our annual departmental carnival, Unoia. And what better way is there to kick off the festival than an engaging live session? I appreciate you all for taking your time out to come and support the event.
it gives me great pleasure to say that each of us here is a vital part of RAMJAS. RAMJAS was founded on May 14, 1917 by Rai Kedarnath. He was a great educationist and a philanthropist, and RAMJAS is often recognized as one of the foundation colleges of University of Delhi. RAMJAS continues to enrich the lives of students with its great facilities, talented faculties, and liberal environment, despite its century-long history. We are honored to have with us today our Vice Principal and Convener of IQAC, Dr. Hemant Kumar Rajor, our Chief Guest for today, Professor Rita Singh, Dean of University School of Environment Management, our Teacher in Charge, Dr. Ritu Sharma, Staff Advisors, Dr. Suman Sharma, Dr. Anupama Razdan, and Dr. Madhumita Banerjee, and all the faculty members and students of our Life Science Department.
Since RAMJAS is known for its academically gifted students, our Genesis, the Life Science Society, is known for its oneness, as we are all linked by a single thread of love. For every one of its students, it is more than a society, it is a family. Today is the first day of our departmental festival, Unoia. Unoia is a Greek word that signifies beautiful thought or a sound mind. Eunoia is a rhetorical term that refers to a speaker's perceived or real kindness towards their audience. Eunoia is supposed to be coming from a Greek term euoia, which means good mind. When it comes to its significance in the English language, eunoia is the smallest word that contains all the 5 vowels. We are confident that you have checked it by now.
Be thou the rainbow in storms of life, the evening beam that smiles the clouds away and tints tomorrow with prophetic ray. With this, we are proceeding with another significant event for today, which is the launch of our departmental magazine, Sanj. With the permission of our Honorable Vice Principal, sir, we are absolutely pleased to unveil our e-magazine, Sanj.
Yes, Shivani, you can go ahead.
Thank you, sir. The magazine, as the organ of the institution, is an apt medium of self-expression for the students there. It usually contains a wide variety of essays and compositions like fiction, poetry, reports of various activities, doodles, and drawings. The editorial team polishes the articles to be published. Illustrations and doodles are diligently planned. Paintings and photography of students also find place in the magazine. Distinguished performances and achievements of both students and staff find pride of place in our magazine. The departmental magazine is a symbol of pride and a miniature representation of the college's department. Any individual going through the magazine would clearly gauge the principles, values, and ideologies of the institution. The benefits of a departmental magazine are immense. The magazine promotes creativity and nurtures the latent skills of young minds. Any article, poem, or artwork published in the magazines serves as a source of encouragement for the budding author or artist. We welcome you all to Sanj.
Moving on now, I'm extremely delighted to introduce our guest for today, Professor Rita Singh. Professor Rita Singh is the Dean of the University School of Environment Management and Proctor of the Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University in New Delhi. She has completed her master's and PhD in botany from University of Allahabad. She did her PhD degree under the supervision of world-renowned botanist and paleobotanist Professor D.D. Pant. She is the recipient of UGC Merit Scholarship and GRF, SRF, Research Associateship, and Pool Scientist of CSIR India. She has more than 40 years of research experience. She was also the first recipient of the Best Teachers Award of the GGS Indraprastha University in the year 2000. She is also interested in biodiversity and conservation, particularly in urban biodiversity. To gather first-hand knowledge on the areas of her research, she has done field studies in pan-Indian localities and also in China, Thailand, Singapore, and Australia, individually as well as in collaboration with American, Australian, and Chinese botanists.
Now, I would like to welcome our Vice Principal, Sir, to address the audience with his words of wisdom.
Thank you, Shivani. Good afternoon, our distinguished speaker, Professor Rita Singh, in charge Dr. Ritu Sharma, Dr. Shuman Sharma, Madhumita Banerjee, and Anupama Rajdan, along with the office bearers, faculty members, students, and dear participants. First of all, I would congratulate Botany Department and Life Science course that they have released this magazine today. Its name is Science. I know that during this pandemic, they have worked very hard day and night, and they have published this magazine. So I hope it will continue in the coming years as well. Now, towards the webinar, I would congratulate this Life Science Society to organize a wonderful webinar on biodiversity and need for its conservation. So I welcome all of you from the RAMJAS College and Internal Quality Assurance Cell side. And we have our esteemed speaker, Professor Rita Singh, Dean and Head, University School of Environment Management, Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University, New Delhi. So ma'am, we are highly thankful to you that you have spared your time to deliver a wonderful talk, and we all be grateful to listen to you and in future also. So we are thankful. I'm sure that we all will be benefited by this talk. Once again, we welcome and thank you for your active participation. Thank you very much. Now it's to you, Shivani.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us with your thoughts. We are grateful to you for providing us with the opportunity for organizing the quiz.
The word biodiversity is a combination of two words, biological and diversity. It refers to the variety of life on Earth and encompasses all the living things that exist in a certain area, in the air, on land, or in water. Plants, animals, microorganisms, fungi, etc. There is crop biodiversity, agri-horticultural diversity, herbal biodiversity, forest biodiversity, and all occurring at molecular, micro, and macro levels. A synergistic understanding alone will make us realize the economical value of biodiversity resources. To understand biodiversity and its conservation better, I would like to invite a speaker, Professor Rita Singh, to address the crowd. We welcome you, ma'am.
Okay. Good afternoon, all of you. Thank you, Shivani, Chanvi, and thank you, Professor Rajouri, for your kind words. And it is really a privilege, again, to come to RAMJAS. A long time back, I had gone there to talk to the blooms. And today I'm talking to Genesis. So First and foremost, I'll say hello to all my fellow friends and the old friends who are there, like Madhumita, Ritu, Suresh ji, all of you. Suman, of course, thank you very much for contacting me. As I told you, these days, most of the time I say, no, I don't want to talk, because for me, interaction with the students in direct mode many times is much better, because talking to a board is not I'm an old school teacher, so I still believe in talking to the faces, seeing their reaction, whether they have perceived or bored, kind of thing. Deliberately, I thought, since your society's name is Genesis, and therefore I'm going to talk to you about the genesis of biodiversity first, and why after this genesis, it is so very important. And of that genesis, we are also part of. And therefore, why it is so very important, why there's so much hullabaloo, though you have been taught by your faculty or teachers about the biodiversity. So let me share my presentation with you, which I'll be talking to you right now, and just tell me whether you see it or not, so that I continue with that, okay? Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So this is very nice picture, it is a kind of temperate environment. This is, you can see everything. You can see a rock, you can see lichen, you can see grasses, you can see and different trophic levels of look at here, grasses, there are bryophytes, there are fungi, there are gymnosperms, and then there are flowering plants. So I deliberately chose this background because it says everything about that, how the rocks gave us a substratum on which we are there, where we are. So as just now one of the members of Genesis, she said that what is biodiversity? You all know is a biological diversity. It's a complex topic though, covering many aspects of biological variation. And generally, it refers to all the individuals and species living in a particular area, which she has said, and consider this area at its largest scale, the entire world or the planet. Then what we are talking about, we are going to talk about the biodiversity can be summarized as the life on Earth. The same way it will be life on Mars and life on Jupiter, but currently we are talking about the green planet, and which is Earth. So I'm going to talk about life on Earth. So the first, you see, the question comes when I say life on Earth. What is life? What is it? And how it got to be the way we find it today. So without also understanding how the life fits into the physical dynamics of Earth, that means the hydrosphere, or the gaseous envelope, which we call them atmosphere, and the rocks and soil, we call them lithosphere. So whenever we see life, we have to understand the collaboration of all three, or the balance of all three. And therefore, if we want to see the history of life, we cannot do it without understanding the history of the planet of which I'm talking to you about. So history of the Earth and history of life is inseparable. So, and life on Earth continues to exist as an integral part of the physical system, which I have mentioned to you, which is its home and its source of sustenance. So life cannot be there in a vacuum. It has to have an atmosphere, it has to have an hydrosphere, it has to have a lithosphere. So therefore, when I said that it is the history of the Earth and history of the life, or the diversity or biodiversity, are inseparable. So naturally, we have to see when the Earth was formed and where we are. look at this, approximately 4 billion years. The Earth was formed and solidified from the gaseous nebula, and it was red because it was all warm. The atmosphere was absolutely reducing. And look at this here. When the first life we get in the form of fossils, we get it about 3.6 billion years ago, or 3.5 billion years ago in the Shark's Bay or Bitter Spring in Canada, and in one locality in South Africa. But look at this here. When the oldest fossil were formed, which were prokaryotic in nature. Prokaryotic, that means you all know that there is a chromosome which is lying in a matrix of the protoplasm and nothing else, So look at this here. The second aspect is the photosynthetic starts approximately 3.5 million years or 3.5 billion years. The first photosynthesis, and photosynthesis happens, you all know, by the chloroplast. So since the atmosphere was reducing, there was a possibility of bonds to form. And with that bonds, CH4 bonds are there in the carbon, and carbon is the basic skeleton of all the life matter which is present on the Earth. So this carbon could join with other molecules or other inorganic compounds or inorganic, and they formed the first organic molecule. There were not many people to stand up and raise their flag because the photosynthesis at that time might have been pollution, because it was changing the red planet into the green planet. And the other important date, you can see it here. That's why I'm talking what is biodiversity and why it's important to conserve it. It took almost 1 billion years. Look at here, approximately 3.6 somewhere here. And here, currently, the first eukaryote is formed. So prokaryote happened here, and eukaryotic. And what is an eukaryote? Only all the genetic material is bound by another nucleoprotein or lipoprotein membrane. So look at this. The nature took 1 billion years to make an envelope, which is a nuclear membrane. And because of this nuclear membrane, the first thing happened, or two things started happening. Here, all the cells were dividing only by the binary fission. That means it was clonal. Mostly it was clonal. But here, after the formation of the nucleus, the sexual reproduction started. And two things are important which change the face of the world and change the face of the, or radiated the biodiversity the way it is the fertilization and meiosis. Meiosis, you all know, because that is the place, in the meiosis, in the second meiosis, the recombination of the characters takes place. And there are only 4 alphabets. In the life you see, there are only 4 alphabets. In English, there are 26. In Hindi, there are 52 or 56, whatever. And then out of these 4 alphabets, by permutation and combination, we have life all over in all possible ecosystem, in all possible niche, life is there. So this is very important, that if one species goes from here to here, when the eukaryotes or the prokaryotes were changing in eukaryotes, and from here onwards, you look at this, the life which we see, and where are we? We are here, just 2 million years ago. And that's why it is important that all the life, the experimentation which nature did over a period of time, it is going in a human lifetime. Look at this. So if you see the history of the Earth, look at the previous slide, the life came, or the visible life started coming in a Phanerozoic, which is only 2% of the geological time scale. So we are almost a nanosecond. We constitute a nanosecond in the of our present, the presence of life on the earth. But still, you can see the vast change and vast diverse. And how did it happen? It happened because of the meiosis and fertilization. Okay, and the land, then transfer of the organism from water to land. And if you see the what is physiology, whether it's animal physiology, plant physiology, any physiology, it is nothing but this physiology of water. Because whether it is a vegetative growth or reproductive growth, what is essential? You are made up of 90% of water, because life has evolved in water. So here, what I am going to talk about, only the 12%. And this 12% has seen many changes, and this is the time scale. And we are here. And Holocene has recently been divided into Anthropocene. And Anthropocene, the date begins since the first engine, the coal engine, came into, that is in 1752. So perhaps we are in Anthropocene, yet another epoch of the Quaternary. So Holocene has recently, just 2-3 years back, it was divided in Anthropocene. So today we are in Anthropocene epoch of the Quaternary period of the Cenozoic era. So as I mentioned to you, when we say the life, what is important? It is very, very important to understand what is important. Look at this. Coral is alive. We all know coral. We see many good pictures. Though it is inanimate, it is rock-like and grows in size, but it is formed by the colony of the polyps, we all know. Stalactites. This is in cave. These are calcium carbonate, just like the coral. The skeleton of the coral. This is also, you look at this, 2 stalactites of life. They are stalactites and stalagmites both. And they also grow, but they are formed by the natural physical phenomenon. So what is the difference between the two? How do we know this is also growing, this is also growing? How do we know that seas are alive? There are certain mangrove seas, because I have traveled to the Pamban, which is the southmost tip, almost southmost tip of the South India. And there I saw the mangrove seas, which are just like rocks, just like pebbles, big pebbles. How do we know this is life? Right? So therefore, it is very, very important, because biodiversity is nothing but the spectrum of life. So what is life? These are the characteristics. Number 1, metabolism. If Darwin says in one of his books that if we can define the life of, the life on the earth, we can define the whole gamut which we see on the face of the earth by the single word EAT, eat. That is what metabolism is. The first eat is the porphyrin rings or the chloroplast molecules, or the chlorophyll molecules. They eat the photons or the sunlight or the solar radiation. And from there, the whole cascade of the reaction goes on. Second is, so metabolism is the eat, non-random organization. Very important. It is non-random. The third is the growth. The moment you eat banana, let's say, when you take it out, it is broken, it is dead. The moment it goes inside, it is a part of the living system. And the growth is what? Mitosis. So what has happened? Mitosis. And the second thing, among this non-organization, there is a switch on and switch off moment. After all the species have different phenology time, when they will vegetatively grow or when they will reproductively grow. Some of the cells, this is very interesting though, how they get perceive the signaling that this is the time they can go, especially look at the plants. how they perceive that they have to enter into the reproductive cycle. And what is the reproductive cycle? Halving of the chromosome so that they can meet another partner or the cell from the other partner and reproduce. So life begets life of their own kind. And when they 50% of will remain the same, very interesting. And 50% of them carry 50% of them and go to the progeny. You know, this is very important. And all the gametes, if you see the birds, the animals, the human being, the fashion industry, all the industry, what we want to do, we want to pass on best of the genes in the progeny. That means attract the opposite. And this heredity is nothing but passing on good genes to another. Look at the amount of the energy peacock spends on showing the dance so that it can attract the best of the females to pass on the. And last one, capacity to respond to environment. Here comes the three dogmas: struggle for existence, survival of the fittest, and then the prodigal. Number one is prodigality of nature. Second is struggle for existence, survival of the fittest. And struggle of existence can be metabolic, can be reproductive, can be growth-wise, can be good genes. And then adapt yourself with the non-living environment from where the life has originated. Right? It is very, very important. So those who can respond to the immediate environment by adapting and responding and acclimatizing to that particular environment, they will survive. And therefore, the species are there where they are because they have acclimatized to that particular area or piece of the land where they have, last survived, or their ancestors last survived. Very interesting, therefore, that these 5 or 6 characters make a rock different or stalagmite different to the coral and the seed to be dural. The seed, let me just question. Seed, but the moment if you want to germinate, first thing first, what do? Put in the soil, put water. The moment the water content in the dried seed or dormant seed is less than 5%, if there is more of water, the seed will start germinating while it is in the pod or in the fruit. So water starts breaking down the physiology. It starts breaking down the complex molecules into single, and so that they can be broken up to sucrose or the monosaccharide, and that's how the whole respiration begins. And the moment respiration begins, the mitosis begins. The mitosis begins, they start growing. And that's how it's very important to understand what actually the life is. And therefore, all these things, it could happen because the initial atmosphere of the earth was reducing. Many times the question is asked, can life evolve now? Can life origin now? Can life be, do you give them enough matrix for the life to origin? The answer is simply no. You'll ask me why? Why? Because we have 18% of oxygen. If something dies, even the plant dies, there is a particular kind of smell you will find in nalas. Or why? Because the bigger molecules, the complex molecules, they break up and emit methane or hydrogen sulfide. And that's why the life can evolve from the existing life. It cannot originate because everywhere initially it was reducing, and currently very interesting that we have nitrogen-rich environment, and we cannot take nitrogen directly. That I'll discuss later on. So if you see, one of the most powerful ideas of life sciences is that that all the complex living organisms have evolved from relatively simple chemicals. And what are these chemicals? Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur mostly. And if you see the DNA, there is still a debate whether the life is it is a RNA world or DNA world or RNA DNA sibling world. I'm not going into that debate. Because origin of life, since the origin of life, still people are debating and working in the muds and in the groves and area to find. They are also working in the vents, the marine vents. They want to understand how the molecules might have arose. Look at this here. As I said, CHNOPS. Look at this is nitrogen base. This is a phosphate, and this ribose or D-ribose sugar. There's a difference of oxygen. That's all. So all these simple molecules, they could join to produce organic molecules. And these organic molecules, when they start working in coordination with each other, they constitute an organism. And this organism can be one cell, and these are like prokaryotes. Most of them, they are one cell, or they can be multicellular, and that's what we are going to talk about, the biodiversity. So it's very important to see, like this, I just wanted to tell you because I'm also a student of fossils, the paleobotany, and I did paleobotany. And this is one of the geoheritages any country has now, since you all are young minds, things precipitate, any country is an idea, or that's what we say, that it is a boundary, there's no boundary. But any country has two kind of other heritage. One is a natural heritage, which can be geoheritage, bioheritage, or natural resource heritage. And second is the cultural heritage. The first one has happened since the life has evolved on the face of the earth and its particular, and how this particular piece of land, which we call as country, has behaved. Right? If you are tropical, you are rich. If you are equator, you are still rich. So you're different kind of. So wherever you are, all the lives are equal. But the concentration of these life forms may differ. And here you can see. So and the second thing is, and cultural heritage is related to the human beings, which is just 2 million years. Therefore, the natural heritage or the biodiversity or biological heritage and the cultural heritage are very, very important. And इसीलिए तो हिंदुस्तान के बारे में लोग कहते हैं कुछ तो बात है कि मिटती नहीं हस्ती हमारी. Why? Because we have so much of diversity of the languages, the cultural heritage as well as biologically rich. और हम मैप में दिखते हैं. हम मैप में दिखते हैं जब से अर्थ बना है, ये अर्थ पैंगिया बना है, और पैंगिया के पहले भी जब जो फॉर्मेशन था उसमें भी थे, और आगे 250 मिलियन साल भी बाद भी हम देखेंगे. So look at coming back here, this stromatolites. They look like a boulder, but these boulders might have formed in 3.6 billion years ago. They have and if you cut the section, they will show the section of the deposition of the cyanobacteria. And they are also called as microbialites, but those of you who go to Australia must see if the rocks can speak. So rocks can speak in the form of the structure they have within. And that is what the paleontology is all about. So this is the geological old rocks, and the state is considered one of the most important research areas on the origin and evolution of life on Earth. Those who are interested, they can go into it. So we don't have only the hotspots of bioreserve, we have geoheritage reserves also that you should know about, and which speaks about how the life over a period of 6.6 billion. These are the records. They are biological, or they are clocks of the life since then, and they are in the form of cyanobacteria. So look at this. The cyanobacteria was then there, and they are surviving even now, maybe in different form. Right? When we were students of MSc Botany, we had studied cyanobacteria. It was a blue-green alga. So now over a period of time, the whole thing has changed. The dynamics of the classification has changed with the advancement of the physics or the chemistry. And therefore, we have divided for the sake of teaching you, it is chemistry, physics, but now the time has come, we start working and thinking in an integrated fashion. So this is about this is the I'm interested particularly in this one, the last one. Astrobiologists are particularly interested in these localities because of search of life on Mars. Earth and Mars probably share similar early history. So therefore, it is very, very important that we should enthuse our students, the life sciences, to go further and look for such things also wherever you go. Like we are in Aravallis. You are placing here in the Aravallis. And Aravalli is one of the oldest mountain range, the Precambrian rocks. So far, Professor Pant used to say the Nature's History book has been torn 5 times. And each time after the previous chapter is gone, a new chapter has come, which was much beautiful or much explanatory than the previous one. So far, the Earth has gone, look at this, the 5, we say major 5, in the late Cretaceous, Triassic, Permian, and late Devonian and Ordovician, these 5 mass extinctions happened. And currently, we are in the 6th one, which we often call as biological crisis. Why we call it biological crisis? Because it is all the last 5 ones, they are natural ones. So they happened over a period of 100 million years, maybe. And then there was a bottlenecking. Whatever was left, a new thing was come. Let me just show you here. This is the last one, late Cretaceous. This is KT. This is the extinction of extinctions. It is called as the KT extinction, the last one, 66, where the dinosaurs are gone. And we are really fascinated by dinosaurs. Why? Because of the Steven Spielberg, he made movie on Jurassic Park. And that was a reconstruction of the fossils which they got in the T-Rex or in the US. And on the basis of the help of, animation, you can see them as they're alive. And the temperature when the dinosaurs were there, and the group of plants which I am working on, the cycads, they were there together. Dinosaurs are gone, but the cycads are still surviving in the different parts of the world. That is the tenacity of a species to survive. So this is very, very important. And currently, all these 5 ones are the natural calamities. Look at this here, 84, because this was all marine. Ordovician was all marine. And here, the last one, in this one, you can see why this the current one, the sixth mass extinction, which we are going through. It is happening because of one of the species. That's how this extinction is different from the last 5. And it is happening in one human life, which is not more than 100 years. And what is happening? This will change the ecosystems, became fragile. The ecosystems are important because we are part of the nature. Our brains have evolved in nature. And therefore, whatever we'll get, we are dependent on all the ecosystem of biodiversity because we have originated as one of them. And therefore, if one species goes, the nature's experimentation of 3.6 billion years goes, and therefore we are talking about the conservation of the species. And we don't know. which, because we are part of the nature, like currently COVID is happening, it is a virus, or maybe, I don't know, it is a virus of videos which is jumping. God knows the genesis of this. But the answer also lies within. It will come from the nature itself. The molecule which will cure this or stop this will also come from this. Because all the body parts, we are, the biology, everything, the mind. And therefore now the question is coming up that what will happen, because most of the time our children, they are sitting inside in front of the computer. What is happening to the brain? The new debate has started by one of the journalists, and he says he has written a book which I'll talk to you maybe later on. So you all know that if we can see the relationship between the biodiversity and the human beings, if you think that we are okay, part of them, and our carbohydrate, if you require what are the primary metabolites which we require? Lipid, naturally, or fat, lipid, then the proteins and the carbohydrates. That is required in water. Where does this carbohydrate come from? From a group of plants which are really not romantic to work with, all grasses. And therefore people say all flesh is grass. All carbohydrate need, whether it is in the form of vegetarian or non-vegetarian, it comes from the grass. Grass is plant. So in 2 million years, we can identify or domesticate only 30,000 edible plants, out of which 5 are important: rice, wheat, corn, maize, and avena sativa, I don't know, oat. So these 5 are important. And 2/3 of the population is dependent on rice. And New World is gone. So all the older civilizations, if you go in, if you'll find that they have domesticated rice, and for that it is very important that there should be some grasses. But after them, they had no knowledge of biotechnology, they had no knowledge of protein, they had no knowledge of our ancestors had no knowledge of all these things. But you see the food, they have checked on, okay, we require these 3, which we call them primary metabolites, healthy food. So this is very, very important for us to understand that the rate at which biodiversity is lost will continue to increase until mass extinction is imminent if something natural calamity happens. At that point, much of the civilization would be lost. That is predicted. But I am hopeful that something will be left behind. Some of us will be left behind. As the world's ecosystem would crumble and collapse, this is a negative theory, but I have written. But there's it is very, very important that James Lovelock has written a book, and the name of the book is Gaia. वो कहता है कि Gaia is Mother Earth is living. You don't have to take care of the Mother Earth. You just take care of yourself. She will take care of, and he's a physicist, and he says the salinity of the ocean, the concentration of gases in the atmosphere, they remain since the second atmosphere came into being after the photosynthetic bacteria. But what we are doing is changing the whole thing by pumping another gases which Earth is unable to balance it now. So with that, I'll come here that when we see the biodiversity, what we see is diversity of the life. But there's a paradox, in fact. Diversity and unity are the 2 underlying themes that seem to characterize all scientifically described about 2 million odd species of organism living today, and many millions existed formerly, now extinct. And what is these 2? So how many species are there? When I say the millions which existed, so how many possible species could be there. It could be 3 million. Some people say, some say it can be 100 million or more. So they use, scientists use the indirect method. Those people who work on the insects, insects are very important. All mosquitoes, all they're all the insect, all the pollinators, all the bees, all the they are all insects. So insects are a very important group. Arachnids also, no. So United States of Department of Agriculture, they said insects are more than 10 million. But there's a young guy like you all. He was working in the tropical forest, and he just wanted to assess, indirect assessment, because the Southeast Asian countries are very, very rich. So the Smithsonian, he was working in Smithsonian, and he was working on arthropods. What he did, he did the fogging. Fogging is the method when you collect the insects from tall trees. So he fogged, and he found in one species, 163 beetle species, Coleopteran. And suppose there are 50,000 trees. So how many coleopterans are there? Forget about other insect species. And therefore, they estimate, we cannot do the estimation, particularly of the tropics, because per square kilometer species are more than their million square kilometers of the temperate region. Therefore, all the hotspots, if you see, where are they? They are in the tropics or subtropics. So look at this is the division. This is the study which we have so far. Insects, they are maximum. We don't know. It is not, again I say, not many people want to work on insects. One should work on insects. Everyone wants to work on tiger, elephant, because they're big-bodied, it's quite romantic. You are visible also, people push money also. But what is more important? To work on this, because the farmers require, एक साल आम होता है, दूसरे साल नहीं होता, एक साल अमरूद होता है, दूसरे साल नहीं होता, क्यों नहीं होता? So people, I have worked in Australia in 1990 as a postdoc, and at that time, I saw there are mobile consultants, which were pollinator consultants. They will go and put a van at one side with the mother bee or the queen bee and the workers, and वो एक हफ्ते तक रहेंगे जब तक फ्लावर में pollination होगा, and then they will move forward. You all can do that. And this is a self work. You can give job to many, and side business can be apiary and so on and so forth. But what is required? You have to study of that particular orchard or the fruit, which are the pollinators which are there. And therefore, then you have to go ahead with the pollinators. Pathogens, all the pathogens. क्या है? Insects ही हैं. So look at this. The animals are known, but this part again is not known. The fungi, and then the plants are of course known, because since the beginning people have started testing, and they knew that plants are important for their food, shelter, medicine. And therefore, a lot of work has been done, and till the date, the work is going on. So fungi, we don't know. We don't know much of prokaryotes, and therefore, a lot more is required to work on. So this is and so many species are the named species. This is estimation, and here are the named species. Most of the plants and all, you can see there's a distinction on this pie diagram. So I'm coming to the diversity. Diversity is structural because we can see it, whether it is unicellular or multicellular. So it is structural. And what we cannot see, which is less apparent, is the unity. And these two things living together, that means हम विरोधाभास में हैं. विरोधाभास यानी paradox. दो चीजें कैसे हो सकती हैं कि unity, diversity in unity, or two can live together? Yes, it can. The diversity is there in the form of the structure, and these two they unify all this. What is transformation and utilization of energy, which I said is EAT, E-A-T. And it starts with the consumption of photon and then converting that photon and using that energy and the water and the CO2, which is prevalent, into a CH2O in a monosaccharide, and then monosaccharides become the respiratory thing, and from there the whole thing begins, and it goes from one to another, one trophic level to another trophic level, which you study in ecology. And other thing is, which is important, is the reproduction. All the species, they have one similarity, or you can unify them by this less apparent, is all of them, they reproduce. They can reproduce by binary fission, but the binary fission is nothing, just a mitosis-like or cleavage. And the second is the secondary, the sexual reproduction. So all of them reproduce. That means each species is trying to survive as long as possible on the face of the earth. Very important. Look at this. This is very important. I thought I don't know whether you have studied or not. The virions and the prions. You know, the virions prions are protein. We never thought that proteins can be pathological, or they can, they can create disease. But a certain fold, the protein molecules, they become pathological. And virions, all the prions, they produce, or they have, the diseases which are known so far, they are related to, they are for the animals, like mad cow disease, which is also called as the transmissible spongiform and encephalopathy, or bovine spongiform, जिसमें brain sponge की तरह हो जाता है, एकदम fluffy हो जाता है, starts, and your body has become just like Alzheimer, initially Alzheimer, then it's like vegetable. And virion, all these virions, which are nothing, you all know that they are RNAs. They are folded in such a manner that they create havoc to the planters, or the plants, or the farmers. They have all the diseases, virion disease, or virioids, virioid disease. They are known to either coconut, or the orange, or the citrus, and then the solanaceae, potato. Potato usually is there, but if it is infected, they become spindle-like, so market value is gone, and then they bring cracks. Hey, this is a great, so this is tuber infection disease, which is called by virions. And this is the prions. The normal prion is like that, but it forms a beta helix, and the moment it creates, which happens not very easily, but one disease which is known as the Kuru, I will tell you, this Kuru disease was first reported, and for that, the person who worked there for 20 years, he was given Nobel Prize, the Prusner. And it happens because there is endocannibalism in that Papua New Guinea, which was under the under Australia during 50s and 60s. And there is a tradition in the tribe, or 4 tribe, that when somebody dies, people eat their meat. It was tradition. And in that, the disease, first it was recorded Kuru, and it is called as Kuru because initially it shivers, people start shivering, and slowly it has become Alzheimer. Ultimately, the child, like this child, cannot stand up. And it was really, so Kuru is a rare and incurable fatal neurodegenerative disorder, and that was formerly among the 4 of people of Papua New Guinea. And it is a kind of a transmissible spongiform encephalopathy, which we call as TSC. Those who are interested, they can go and further read. So it is abnormally folded tremine, which came out of the, so therefore the meat, it did not happen in many places, but whenever there was cannibalism, it was recorded, first time recorded in 50s and 60s in Australia and Papua New Guinea. But it is, just like COVID. We don't know what, we know the beautiful structure. But look at this, they are microscopic. We can't even see them, the compound microscope. You can see them with the ultra, either SEM or TEM, you can see them, and they can create havoc. They are not in, the very interesting part is they are not even live. Therefore, I put them, you put them virus in the bottles, they are like powder. 1,000 years and millions years they can remain in bottle until unless they get a obligate host or obligate cell. They will not. For example, HIV. They are such a smart particle. Therefore, we call them particles, virions, prions, virus. They are not even, and they attack. Let's see the flu. Flu causes only in the nasal passage, epithelial cells of the nasal passage. HIV, human immunodeficiency virus, it sets or infects the T cells, the T4 cells, and if you try to kill the virus, you will kill T4 cells, and thus you will kill you will further kill the immune system. So they are such a small particle. Look at the organism, then unicellular organisms like Saccharomyces, which is which is yeast, and then multicellular organisms. So I'm coming here. So we cannot understand, as I said, the diversity. And diversity, there's a spectrum of living organisms, bacteria, Proctor, fungi, plant, animals. It is up to you what you are interested in. Bacteria to redwood trees and ourselves produce, and ourselves, we all are produced or resultant of the permutation combination through evolution. And therefore, it is nothing in the life sciences matters if you don't understand evolution, that Dobzhansky says. And look at this here, Monera. You all know Monera, the archaebacteria. People are working on archaebacteria. Why? Because they help in biomining. Eubacteria, true eubacterias, right? And you see how many of them, there are many of them are known of late, a lot of people started working. So they are the economic importance, they are, please tell me the time, when I have to stop. Sumanji, please tell me the time. When I have to stop, I'll stop. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
this is yet another example of which you mustn't be knowing, that just like you have 8 meters of Everest, there are deeper areas in the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. You know that Pacific Ocean is deeper. There they have found in these, we say the marine species which is found in abyssal zone, which is 6,000 meters underwater, and their head is in cold water, and their foot, the foot is down under, and the foot is down under the magma or the core. So it is, the upper area is 2 to, look at this here, I have written it here, it is 2 to 30 degrees Celsius, but the bottom feet is under hundreds of centigrade. What kind of physiology they must be having? This type of, this is the methanogens or archaebacteria. So you see all these are sulfur, They are same kind of, जैसे आप जाते हैं गर्म पानी, यहाँ गर्म पानी है. गर्म पानी क्या है? गर्म पानी bacterial pool है, right? And which is thermophilic bacteria are there. So we have to look out for such thing, and this is the life. And this annelid, structure which is called as riftia because they formed in the marine clefts. It is called as Pachyptila riftia. This is found on the floor of the Pacific Ocean. Where the black smokers they are, and black smokers are what? Hydrogen sulfide. So what are the kind of? So if we can get answer for the removal of the hydrogen sulfide when we study these bacteria of this kind, then comes, you all know the protista. It is very interesting. Look at the diatoms. I'll go over one or two things. Diatoms. All the you all know that the fossil fuel is nothing but they are diatomaceous remains. और जो आप सड़क के ऊपर जो साइनेजेस देखते थे जो दूर से शाइन करती है फ्लोरेसेंट साइनेजेस, इनिशियल साइनेजेस जो बने थे वो डायटम के जो स्केलेटन था जो रॉक बनता था रॉक को क्रश करके मिलाया गया था दैट फ्लोरेसेस और दैट शाइन्स and then came the synthetic form. So each and every species, and this is the second group, which is eukaryotic. Monera is prokaryotic. This is eukaryotic, and this is the base of the rest of the eukaryotic, and they live in the water molds. You can see the water molds and deriflags and archaea. I mean, this one. Plants, the whole the whole plant you can see from the earlier the alga was also used in this, but now we have separated the alga. The mosses, ferns, the gymnosperms and the angiosperms. And if there is a color, if we can understand the meaning of the color as a human being, we understood through the pigmentation, which is right in the form of flowers, right? They are not only important there, they create a matrix on which all the animals, they are there. So this is very important. You all must be knowing this is root parasite. They are root parasite and it is about 1 meter and it smells like skunk or dead body. Or therefore it is called a skunk cabbage. And they attract a different kind of pollinator, which are blue flies. Just like some of the members of the Slipidaceae, they have smell like rotten meat, the flower, because they want to go away from the competition from usual bees, and they attract different kind of bees. And if the plant can speak, this is the oldest living organisms on the face of the earth. It is 5,065 years old. Pinus longeva, it is present on the western coast of the Nevada in the California. And this is, if this plant can speak, this will speak about how the Caucasoids or the people roamed about in that part, how the civilization happened. But it's still there. It's the oldest living organisms. And this is a gymnosperm. It is a Pinus longeva. Earlier, older name is Pinus aristata. And this one, you all might have gone or must have read about it. Look at where we are in front of this. But we have created havoc on all. People have started, studying this water. If you know the gymnosperm, I don't know whether you have been taught or not. There is no vessels in the gymnosperms. The water moves in a zigzag fashion. And people are studying, the scientists, they are studying, the physicists, that how the water moved without any pump to 2,050 feet. And they are trying to mimic that. What kind of, it's a negative pressure. All have read about transpiration. But how 76 meters water is going up there? How much pull is created? So this is one of the tallest, mightiest Sequoiadendron sempervirens and Sequoia sempervirens. Redwoods are there. We call them giant sequoias. And because the General Sherman or Sherman tank and pass through the hollowed wood of this, it is called as General Sherman, one of the tallest trees. So they have given name, and people in India are also working on it, because we have seen the diameter, which is 30 or 40 foot of the Citrus Deodara in Himachal Pradesh. And there is a cross cut in FRI which is 9 meters. So look at this. It is that and has 100 circumference is 31 meters. Can you imagine? What a bulk, biomass. And जब एक सेल होता है, सेल की तरफ प्राइमरी वॉल होते हैं सेल्यूलोजिक. Cellulose is polymer of the monosaccharide. So these are the vaults of the carbon sequestration. Right? पूरा के पूरा कार्बन इसमें जाके रुक गया है. अगर हमने काटा जलाया तब इसीलिए फॉरेस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट है, because they sequester. And that's yet another example is a ginkgo biloba. If one can travel back into the time in Triassic, you can identify one species, which is ginkgo. Only it is surviving by just one species. But when the Americans bombed Japan, the Hiroshima and Nagasaki, one species, one plant or one organism which survived, that was the ginkgo. And therefore, it is called as the, look at this here. Can you see that? No more Hiroshima. And the tree is been a monument. It is a monument of peace. I just wanted to tell you about. And it still survive. People go and pay respect to this tree, that you are a survivor of the atom bomb. And then the fungi, as I mentioned to you, most of the medicines will come out from the fungi, and it is least worked out. And now world over there is rage. And I must tell you, since these days people talk about narcotics, one of the fungus which is called as Amanita. Amanita is a temperate species. It has so much of bioactive compound that people drink their urine twice or thrice, and still the narcotism or narcotic substances, the bioactive compounds are there. People are working. How did the plant produce so much of? Why they are producing this type of bioactive molecule? The penicillin. This is the penicillin, and so many species of the fungi are there which needs to be worked out. And the forest we see above the ground is green. The forest which do not see, which is below the ground, and which is all mycelial. And what do they help in? They help in the absorption of phosphate. And phosphate is required for what? ATP. Energy. जब क्रोमोसोम डिवाइड होता है तो मूव करता है, उसके लिए एनर्जी कहाँ से आती है? एटीपी, एडीपी, एएमपी, इसी से आती है ना, बाय द रेस्पिरेशन. एटीपी, phosphate uptake is these help them. So plants and they are all interconnected, and therefore, and then comes the animal world, the marine, which we don't know much even now. We only know a little bit of the marine. But we know more about arthropods. आजकल तो बड़ा ही काम चल रहा है arthropods के ऊपर, as I mentioned to you. And then look at these amphibians, because they tell you about the pollution, the hydropollution. And then the butterflies and many, and look at these primates, and look at this us. We are just 2% different. And look at this, we can speak. You can talk to the chimps in sign language. But we have been just 2% difference of the genome is, so that is showing the diversity and coming to and this is the encircling of the unity. So biodiversity, therefore, is not a dry summary of the principles of ecology and evolution, but rather biodiversity is the interplay between these realms and beyond, encompassing the physical earth system in which the life exists. We cannot segregate all the three. And therefore, and given the roles humans are playing on earth, biodiversity encompasses all that is human. How we have evolved, how we fit into this around us, what will happen if we will alienate ourselves from this. And so well-being, that's what I said. When you see a good garden of flower, good flower, what do you feel? Or whenever you feel tired, where do you want to go? Just do the Reiki, make a questionnaire and see where you are going, and people who are 50 years or 60 years, where they want to go. And you will find, or the younger generation, just see and look at the questionnaire and make a kind of data. I'm giving you a question kind of. Coming to here, so should we then be concerned about the loss of biodiversity? Does it matter to us? Of course it is. It does matter. Why? We are living, breathing animals after all. We need clean air, we need water, and nearly a third of 10 billion of us on the planet right now, we do not have access to safe drinking water. We need those fisheries in ocean, trees in forests, we need oxygen. We need, all these can be provided only by healthy, intact ecosystem. And above all, we need nature around us because it is where we came from. And it is an essential part of us. And we are part of it. And the other aspect is, which I have not added it, is the biocultural part of it. The language, the culture, they come from the biological diversity in which wherever you are living. So look at this, the diversity of life is the center. Of course, the biology and ecology is okay, clean air, everything is important, which I have talked to you about. The second is the culture and the language. Every area, जहाँ पे भी आप रहते हैं, आप सोचिए कि बंगाल में क्यों लोग मछली खाते हैं, राइट? क्यों मछली खाते हैं? क्योंकि वहाँ का वेदर ऐसा है कि वहाँ पे लेंटिल्स नहीं हो सकते, तो उन्होंने क्या प्रोटीन के लिए वहाँ के लोग क्या खाने लगे? मछली खाने लगे. कभी आपने सोचा कि साउथ में इतना मिर्च और खट्टा क्यों खाते हैं? कभी आपने सोचा है कि कश्मीर में जो मीट बनता है मोस्टली आपको प्याज लहसुन खाने लगे? पहले लोग प्याज लहसुन नहीं खाते थे, दही से बनता था. राजस्थान का खाना क्यों है? तो जहाँ का जो चीज, जिस बायोडाइवर्सिटी में जिस एरिया था आपका, उसी के हिसाब से कल्चर इवॉल्व हुआ, लैंग्वेज इवॉल्व हुई और स्पिरिचुअल बिलीव्स वहाँ के साथ. एंड दैट्स व्हाई द वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि ये एक वर्क किया गया कि जहाँ पे वर्टिब्रेट्स ज्यादा हैं वहीं की भाषा बड़ी ज्यादा है. तो क्या हुआ? द लैंग्वेज ऑन बोथ एंड लैंग्वेज, सबसे रिचेस्ट एरियाज देख लीजिए जहाँ ट्रॉपिक्स हैं मोस्टली, ये मैक्सिको, मायन और इंकाज और मायंस का एरिया है, और सेम इज प्लांट. तो दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि जहाँ पे बायोडाइवर्सिटी ज्यादा है वहीं पे भाषा बहुत उन्नत है. So language has evolved at a particular places where the biodiversity is rich. So the planet is in the midst of the crisis. Biologists argue that we are in midst of the 6th mass extinction. But this is not all. There is another mass extinction going on at the same time. An extinction of human languages and cultures. हम बड़े homogeneous हो गए. एक तरह से आप यहाँ जाएं, चाहे जापान जाएं, चाहे आप अमेरिका जाएं, चाहे लैटिन अमेरिका, अफ्रीका जाएं, एक तरह का कपड़ा बोलने लगे हैं, एक तरह का हम पहनने लगे हैं, एक तरह. So what is, we are becoming more homogeneous, and that's so an extinction of human language and the cultures. For the past several decades, linguists and anthropologists have been raising concern about the rapid loss of linguistic and cultural diversity brought about by spread of global monoculture and dominant languages like English and Spanish, and so on. So what is happening? These are not two separate extinction crises, but rather they represent a converging extinction crisis, the diversity of life in all forms, a biocultural diversity. So therefore, together if we say it is a biocultural diversity extinction crisis. And therefore, another important thing which is a matter of concern is urbanization. And I cannot take all the things because urbanization, you see, up to, what is happening? All the green planet, by 2030, it is predicted that 60% of the area has to be urban. So this whole green is coming, it will become green here, and biodiversity is going to live in the urban environment of which we all are part of. So this is yet another important, that urbanization should be sustainable, and therefore sustainable development goals have been established. So at the end, before I'll take a very small 2 minutes more, if I'm permitted to. ये जब रेड इंडियंस, जब यूरोपियंस गए और रेड इंडियन को ट्रांसफर कर रहे थे लैंड की, दिस इज नॉट योर लैंड, दिस पुश, तो वहां का चीफ सिएटल ने कहा था, जो कि समझ में आ, जो अभी तक मैं पढ़ा रही थी, कि द डज नॉट बिलोंग टू मैन, man belongs to the earth. All things are interconnected like blood that unite us. Man did not weave this web of life. He is merely a strand in it. Whatever he does to the web, he does it to himself. बहुत बड़ी बात है, इसने यही कहा है. You think that you are superior and you can exploit the thing. You are not exploiting a thing. You are exploiting yourself because you are part of the web. And with that, I end my lecture by thanking you all for paying your attention to know about the biodiversity and why we have to conserve it. It has been passed on to us in some better way by our predecessors. And we have the knowledge also, the language also. And what is happening? We have to save them, with the knowledge, culture, biodiversity for the present and the future generations. With that, I end here my lecture. I want to show you, ma'am, अगर आपकी permission हो, Suman ma'am, Madhumita ma'am, so I'll take 2 minutes more.
Yes, ma'am, you can please continue.
Are the students okay? Because उनको लगेगा कि I think I don't want to, but this will be interesting because biodiversity, as I have mentioned to you, is not only for important for our survival, but it is also, since most of us are turning into urban, so many of the innovations will come from the either biological structure or the processes or the so I just want to show this one. Is it visible to you all? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So biological strategies and innovations is equal to biomimicking. और बायोमिमिकिंग की पूरा एक इंस्टीट्यूट और एक बहुत बड़ी यूनिवर्सिटी आ गई है, अमेरिका में भी है और ऑस्ट्रेलिया में, वेयर people are studying and they are trying to get the answers which so this is very much important. I thought as a student of biological sciences या life sciences, हमें लगता है हम क्या करेंगे आगे चल के, हम बहुत चीज कर सकते हैं. That is what I just wanted to show you 3-4 things which are relevant. Number 1, जो पेंटिंग्स आ रही हैं आजकल के, जो एक्सटीरियर पेंट हो रहा है, डस्ट फ्री, जिसको हम कहते हैं लोटस इफेक्ट, बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग चीज है. हर लीफ के ऊपर क्यूटिकल होता है, यू ऑल नो, लेकिन कैसे लोटस का जो लीफ क्यूटिकल है वो कैसे डिफरेंट था. एक टीचर ने एक स्टूडेंट से कहा कि व्हाई डोंट यू सी, बिकॉज इट डजंट, द मड पार्टिकल्स और द सॉइल पार्टिकल्स डजंट स्टिक टू इट, देयर मस्ट बी समथिंग डिफरेंट. एंड सिंस Cretaceous lotus is there, it's one of the primitive families. And how it is inspiring for the paint industry. They studied, and I'll show you here, look at this. This is the cuticular structure you get on the cuticle. अगर इसका cuticle का study करेंगे, scanning micrograph है. और ये उसका lower surface है. अब ये जो है, इसके बीच में vacuum air फंस जाता है, so it doesn't allow the particle or dust particles to go in and they roll off like this. So they imitated it in a nano way, and that's how the first paint came from the Germany in the by the name Lotuson. और इससे क्या है, जो आपने ऐड देखते हो कि पानी बरस रहा है, आंधी चल रहा है, उसके ऊपर धूल नहीं आएगा. So what is going to this, the biological mimicking of this, that application self-cleaning glass facade. आप देखिए सारी बिल्डिंग्स आ रही हैं, सब में मैक्सिमम ग्लासेस लग रहे हैं. सोलर मॉड्यूल्स, विंडोज और कार रूफ टाइल्स, नैनो सैनिटरी एरिया, इवन शू पॉलिश. तो क्या होगा, आपको ये करने की जरूरत नहीं है. इट हैज कम फ्रॉम अ प्लांट which grows in mud, and people have been knowing this, and it happens just 15 or 20 years. First it was, it has gone by the name. You can go for the further. I just wanted to show you Lotuson. Second is Velcro. You all know the Velcro. Velcro was the whole thing was seen by a Swiss electrical engineer. His name was George de Mistral. And उसने क्या किया, उसने देखा कि वो जाता है तो ये हमेशा उसके पैंट में ये जो स्टिकर्स हैं ये लग जाते हैं. तो उसने दो पहले कपड़े लिए और बाद में उसने सिल्क लिया, और सिल्क से ही वेलवेट्स एंड हुक्स, इसको प्लास्टिक को एक पर्टिकुलर टेम्परेचर पे गर्म करके वो उसने हुक बनाया, एंड विच इज वेलक्रो. एंड नाउ यू सी द वेलक्रो इज एवरीवेयर. So it is a zipperless zipper which got patented in 1955. Can you imagine? So the idea came from birds. These are called as birds. Third is very important. जो आजकल आप मेट्रो में जा रहे होंगे या सड़क पे, you see the vertical walls. He is a Patrick Blanc. He is a French man. He is a botanist who has studied the tropical. He specializes in tropical botanist. And he was studying cliffs. And that's how he is a janitor, or he is a janitor of the Patrick Blanc Center of Vertical Gardens. जिसको bio walls भी हम कहते हैं, जिसको हम vertical walls, vertical gardening, because in urban area there will be a space crunch. So he has started using the columns and the walls or the railway lines, the side of the railway line, the over bridges, and that's how और ये fulfill करता है क्या, SDG goals, assessment of cities and communities. So how you can modify and bring more well-being in the city by studying. And he is not a very old man. You can see 79. He did PhD in natural science. People will think, why should we do that? So this brings not only oxygen. This is not only bringing he has studied the cliffs. So cliffs design कैसा होता है, बाकी तो उसने पढ़ा और उसी की तरह develop किया process, and now he is one of the janitors of the new system of the gardening, which is the vertical garden. And all the places, whether it is China, India, world over you go, Patrick Blanc is there. His footprints or his mind prints are there.